Ye Old Pub.
Welcome to Mini Scandals, the series where we look into the scandals and drama that grip the many hobbies, niches and fandoms of the world. Today we're leaping ball first into the world of Warcraft. World of Warcraft will forever hold a special place in my heart. It's a shameful passion I've had since I was 12 and sunk a disgusting amount of time into, which technically describes two of my hobbies.
That's
a fantastical, persistent, and ever-changing world full of adventure, friends, and mighty heroes. It really isn't hard to see why me and my mates spent so many years under its hypnotic, sweaty spell. The potential for drama in WoW has always been massive. From that one degenerate who brings up real-world politics and global chat, to the raid leader giving the epic trousers that drop from the boss, to the person who drops their epic trousers for them in real life, these scandals have...
What? Do people actually get the Gluck Gluck in like real life for WoW items? Hold up. That's crazy. That happens in every single MMO? That's insane. That is insane. Okay, I kind of get it. No lie, I kind of get it because like I do know people who are degenerate enough for that. Like, I remember when I told you guys a story about like my ex's about my ex who played League of Legends, right? And he was like really good at League. And some girl basically offered to, you know, give him the Gluck Gluck in exchange for like Diamond in League of Legends. Like, I kind of get it now. Okay, well, you know, MMO items, I guess. But like also, I don't know, get a job and like buy it if you want it that bad. Shit, that's crazy.
Have permeated the game since its inception. In this video, we're going to look into some of the largest, most entertaining examples of the WoW community doing what it does best, eating itself alive from the inside.
What?
Starting with something I'm sure everyone can relate to.
Okay. Having everyone at your funeral
Vanilla
killed?
World of Warcraft was a special time to be online. In 2004, many people were still coming to grips with using the internet, let alone living out an online fantasy adventure. So when Phaeton, an officer of a guild on the Illidan server, sadly passed away from a stroke, her guildmates naively believed that their fellow man wouldn't interrupt an in-game funeral for her. Yuzi Yanoa took to the WoW forums and announced they would be holding a funeral by the Frostfire Hot Springs in Winterspring, as Phaeton loved the snow and the sound of the water. This post was meant as an open invite to anyone on the server who knew the deceased and wanted to come and pay their respects. But guys, whatever you do not come and kill everyone, okay? Of course, this is like telling a big YouTuber to stop messaging 16-year-old girls. And so the ironically named Serenity Now Guild decided to pop in and pay their respects in their own unique way. If proposing at someone else's wedding is a massive dick move, you could argue that dying at someone else's funeral is just as bad. And what was a vigil for one fallen comrade ended up being a mass grave for all attendees. This debacle was recorded in the finest 4:3 aspect ratio available and uploaded online by Women Shouldn't Vote Productions, because of course it was.
What the fuck? This whole story is like a fucking... It's like a roller coaster where like once you think like, oh, it can't possibly get any higher, it just keeps going higher. What the fuck? Oh my god, that's insane. In my first Final Fantasy 13 static, the raid league was married to our main tank. We were witness to unspeakable things. Crazy. There was that one woman who banged a guy for an epic flying mount. You know? Dolox did tell me about like the price of some stuff, and I was like, ooh, you guys are kind of crazy. You guys are kind of crazy. Had a woman in my guild sleep with 4 guys for loot, gold, and mount. I genuinely think that if you're sleeping with if you're sleeping with 4 guys for loot, gold, and mounts, you might as well just play the game at that point. Shit. You know? Just play the game. Also, Women Shouldn't Vote Productions, I expected nothing less.
This was one of WoW's first viral videos, up there with Leroy Jenkins. But for some reason, Blizzard decided not to embrace the funeral raid and make it an achievement, the same way they did with Leroy.
What?
My favourite part of the video is where one of the griefers undercover at the funeral says out loud how it's a nice day for a memorial, prompting this Tauren to get suspicious and equip his weapon. Phaeton's guild even managed to log into her character so that she could be there in spirit, which naturally was the first character to be targeted by Serenity Now. The video itself opens with a number of hate comments gleaned from various forums online, spouting vitriol at the guild for their heinous act, and even going so far as to wish death upon members of their families. I'm assuming in
Damn.
real life. In reality, the reaction was a bit more mixed. While most everyone condemned it as a bit of a dick move, a lot of people also saw the absurdity of hosting an in-game funeral on a player versus player server where the rival faction can attack you at any point, cynically brushing it off with a, "What did you expect?" The
What?
saddest or perhaps funniest part of the story was that, according to the original funeral announcement post, the organisers had planned to film it and send it to the family of the deceased.
No.
They probably didn't. With the power of hindsight and widescreen monitors, modern-day commenters have pointed out that, while this was mean, it kept Phaedra's memory alive much longer than had the funeral gone to plan.
That's true.
Even now, 15 years later, we can all remember that she enjoyed the snow and the calming sound of water.
Can I get an 07 Phaedron in the chat? Because we should remember our fallen, like, gamer buddies. But also, I guess he was right when they said that this, like, I don't know, maybe maybe she'd see the humor in it, right? Maybe she'd see the humor in it. Like, I'm just saying, if I die, chat, I require a 1-day memorial where everyone only plays Sword Soul and nothing else. Yeah, I hope that she was able to see the humor in it, you know? Yeah, it's been immortalized. It's honestly, I wouldn't say that it got ruined. I think that, like, if she was someone with, like, good humor, it honestly would have been really funny. Yeah, I would have been okay if that ever happened to me and I was the first one to be, like, fucking murked. I fucking laugh. I'd be like, oh shit, people are crashing my funeral. Nani? Blizzard accidentally released a plague. What the fuck? Hold up. What? How?
From funerals to things that cause funerals, let's talk about a deadly plague being unleashed on the world that ground it to a halt. These fantasy
What?
games, huh? In late 2005, almost a year into World of Warcraft's release, the cities of Azeroth were set upon with a plague worse than the lack
shit.
of personal hygiene they were accustomed to. The final boss of the new max level raid Zul'Gurub, Hakar the Soulflayer, had an ability where he force-fed raid members bowls of bat soup, afflicting them with the corrupted blood debuff. This debuff
Okay.
would do damage over time and jump between players, requiring gamers to spread apart and use hand sanitizer so they wouldn't infect their teammates. The debuff only lasted for 10 seconds and wasn't powerful enough to kill a max level player on its own, so hardly cause for concern, right?
I
That
guess
was
so.
until it was discovered that player pets that were afflicted with it could be dismissed and then resummoned at a later time, with the debuff still ticking down.
Wait.
And it wasn't long before one infected pussy in a crowded city became patient zero. The debuff, while annoying for max level players, could instantly kill low-level characters. Even worse, it would jump to non-player characters who were immune to its damaging effect but still had the capacity to spread it to actual players, much like
Wait.
asymptomatic carriers of real diseases. This ensured that the disease wouldn't simply disappear once all the affected players died or spread apart for 10 seconds, as any one of the hundreds of guards, quest givers and vendors were all lining up to cough in your mouth. What
Wait.
followed was a fascinating insight into human behavior in the face of a global pandemic, albeit on a microscopic scale with no repercussions.
That's crazy. That's so funny. Wait, that is actually insane and really funny. It's real in the real world too. I'm not surprised because of how many, like, cons, like how many conventions are, like, basically disease hotbeds, right? I'm not surprised, but also the fact that this was a thing in game is low-key amazing. I feel like this is one of those things where the devs didn't, like, think that far ahead. And then when it actually happened, it was like, oh, these are the consequences, huh? Yeah, when WoW had its own, like, version of COVID. Bro, oh my god. Do you guys remember, like, the COVID days? Do you guys think that, okay, what, in your opinion, were the COVID days good or bad for you? Play MMOs with his friends in college. We tried WoW. And I gotta say, I like WoW, but I think the constantly creating characters, because I died so many times that one time, kind of took its toll on me, and I unsubscribed immediately because I was like, wow, I'm tired.
While WoW didn't have the if you die in the game, you die in real life feature at the time, which wasn't added until Warlords of Draenor, many players still treated it as a real disease because it was killing something arguably more important than their lives. Fun. Low-level players were unable to access the main cities and even some of the busier towns, essentially locking off a huge chunk of the game's content. Many of them simply fled to the wilderness, while higher-level players either tried their best to heal those affected, visited the cities for the spectacle, or, as expected, attempted to spread it as much as possible. The plague itself is much like EVE Online, in that hearing about it is much funner than actually playing it, and the novelty quickly wore off for everybody except those who saw it as a gregarious griefing gift. After most everyone tired of the literal bed of skeletons that littered city streets, Blizzard was forced to step in and do a series of hard resets and hotfixes that temporarily limited the problem before completely annihilating it almost a month later when they made it so that corrupted blood would no longer affect pets. The corrupted blood...
I just want to say, I can foresee some random troll, like high-level troll, getting this disease and running to the beginner villages and just spreading that shit, right? Okay, can I be for reals? Did you guys know that Down the Rabbit Hole made like a 6-hour EVE Online I don't even know what it's called, documentary, but I have no idea. But I watched that shit because I'm an idiot. And I gotta say, at the end of it, all I understood was that people played the game to re-experience capitalism as a capitalist. That's it. Oh man, the Blood Plague happened again with Classic. Will they ever learn? Will Blizzard ever learn? Why would you watch that? Oh, because I'm an idiot. Because I'm an idiot, and because this guy that I was talking to was like, hey, you should watch this documentary, and I was like, cool, and he never talked to me again. So that game was so boring. He go off what I don't get it. Okay, I kind of get the romance in it, but I think the only real fun that you get from being in EVE Online is if you're a high enough player that like your actions matter, you know, you're in like a good enough guild. Miwabelle, I am the world's strongest. I'm the world's strongest simp. It's so over for me, guys. I want you guys to know it is over for me. I will never emotionally recover from like the amount of like documentaries I've had to watch.
Blood Incident was one of WoW's most interesting events, a truly random, unexpected occurrence that could only happen in a persistent online world. This unique positioning even caught the attention of the scientific community.
Oh, that's crazy.
Who stated that online worlds such as Blizzard's could potentially be used.
Wait, what do you mean 276 readers on X-Hamster? This is an epidemiology webpage. Is that not what I think it is? Lucky, it is an NSFW site that is heavily banned in Singapore. Who the fuck's reading this shit on X-Hamster? What? Do you guys want to know a story of how I know what X-Hamster is? So like, when I was like a kid, right? When I was like young enough, so I think like I was like maybe 6 or 7, and we had like a class that was basically like teaching us like how to use the computer, right? And one of the things that they taught us how to do was how to create like a blog, right? And I remember like a bunch of the girls just being like, oh, you know, at that point in time, you know, the whole like X something, you know, X like angel, that kind of thing was like trendy. So like, and we had like some random like contractor from outside come in to teach us how to make like blogs, you know? So some girl was like, oh, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna name my blog X, like, and after her pet hamster. And the guy, the contractor guy was like freaking the fuck out. He was like, oh, no, you cannot name your blog that. I can't explain it to you, but you cannot name your blog that. Yeah, you know the whole like XXX, I'm an angel, XXXX, that kind of thing. God damn it, I just looked up what XM. Don't look it up. It's NSFW. But also, who the fuck is reading an epidemiology like article on fucking X Hamster? That's insane. It's so bad. It was so bad. I remember like the guy freaking out because some girl tried to name her blog X Hamster. And like we had like and my teacher at that time Like, my form teacher was, like, this boomer old lady. I mean, she's not even boomer. Like, at that age, I think she was, like 50 or 60 when I was 6. So that's, like, before boomer, right? She had no idea what he was talking about. Infectious diseases or NSFW. See, it sounds like a train wreck. It was so dumb. It was so dumb. But, I mean, a bunch of us, like, got to learn, like, how to set up blogs. I still don't know, but, you know, hey, apparently we did it. Tweeted by 29, blogged by 5, picked up by 10 news outlets, 276 readers on X Hamster. This article is not it. They're not doing it, guys. Ugh.
To more accurately model how humans react to a pandemic, which turns out is bad. Still, these studies were sure to note that death in WoW was a mere inconvenience compared to real life, meaning players would happily throw their character's body into the pile if it meant they got the chance to kill one more player, or even just be a morbid sightseer and nab a glimpse at the chaos. Now, having an accidental plague lock down every city is one thing, but what about...
Wait, one man locking down an entire town for months? How do you do that?
Okay, sure. It isn't quite as impressive as every city being turned into a literal ghost town, but if corrupted blood was an unflinching, uncaring disease born of a programming oversight, this story showcases something much scarier: the sheer power of one man's commitment.
Okay.
In original World of Warcraft, Menethil Harbour was one of the few ways for Alliance players to set sail and reach the continent of Kalimdor, and the easiest one to access for low-level players. For 4 months straight, working the equivalent hours of a very sad full-time job, one man completely locked down Menethil Harbour so that no players could access the boats. Angui, a max-level orc rogue on the PvP server Deathicus, set out to get 100 honourable kills a day. That is to say, he aimed to kill 100 players who were close to his level. Despite being called honourable kills, he set out to do this in the least honourable way possible, griefing low-level players to the point that they would either get on their high-level character, if they had one, or whinge enough to their guild that a high-level player would come and help them out. This proved surprisingly effective, and Angui was routinely at the top of the ranking for honourable kills each week. But this wasn't his only goal. Inspired by the salty messages he would receive while killing someone in EverQuest, Angui hoped to recreate this in WoW, except that WoW doesn't let you communicate between factions, almost exclusively for this reason. To work around this, Angui created and paid for a second account so that he could park an Alliance character named Angui Spy nearby and inform his victims that they had, in fact, been pwned. The understandably unimpressed victims often retorted with vitriol and threats, all of which he catalogued and uploaded to a website for all to see.
This is so spiteful! What the fuck? That's insane. That is insane. This is so fucking spiteful. Holy shit. I kind of fuck with it because, like, I feel like this man is driven by, like, pure, like, spite. But also, what the fuck? This is so dumb. This is so funny.
Now that I think about it, he's kind of like Matty from the Mountain Dew Game Jam, winding people up for content. Of course, unlike Matty, Angui didn't have any monetary incentive to do any of this. He was in it for the sheer thrill of it. His griefing was so effective, and Menethil was such an important destination for low-level players, that there was even a guide written on how best to avoid him. You might notice a few similarities between Angui and the villain from the World of Warcraft South Park episode, and while he wasn't the direct inspiration for that, it's proof that South Park was pretty spot on with their parody. Unfortunately, assholes in World of Warcraft aren't able to unionize, and so when the patch that finally introduced player versus player battlegrounds was implemented, Angui found himself out of a job. Because battlegrounds were designed specifically for player versus player, it was significantly easier to get kills in than camping out in one town, and he quickly found himself knocked off the leaderboard. Angui later stated in an interview with PC Gamer that this was also sort of a wake-up call for him. At the time, he was around 21 years old and realised that all of his WoW mates were going off to college or starting families, and all he had was the reputation for being the biggest asshole on the server. Which is admittedly a bit more impressive than having a kid. I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? So I ended up going to college for game design. Some people...
That is such a funny tangent. Wait. Stop. So he realized he was being an asshole to people online, so like his solution was, oh yeah, so I'm just gonna go to school for game design. Wait, I kind of love that. He's so... It's such a spiteful dick move, and then like... Wait... This wake-up call is insane. Peter Turbo would be proud. Peter Turbo would be... Do you think Peter Turbo would play WoW? I mean, you know what's the thing? I'm proud of the guy for, like, waking the fuck up, right? I'm proud of the guy. Don't get me wrong. But also, this is so fucking funny. He really just said, oh, okay, well, all my friends... Actually, you know what? Never mind. I understand him now. I take it back. I understand him now. I too had a wake-up call once my friends started having kids. At which case, I've decided I'm gonna be their loser auntie. One of my friends is on her second kid. And then okay, all of my, like, friends right now, like, because they're all moms, they only ever want to talk on, like, Facebook. They don't even use Instagram anymore. They've, like, given up their thought face and they've, like, started using Facebook. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll use Facebook with you guys, right? I looked at one of the girls I went to school with. She's on her third fucking kid. I'm sitting here watching WoW videos with chat. It's so over for me, guys. It's over for me. I want you guys to know, chat, I'm looking at you guys right now. Okay, I'm even gonna zoom in, okay? I want you guys to know, chat, you and I, we are ride or die at this point. We are fucking ride or die, chat. If, you know, I don't have, like, kids or anything, chat, you and me, we're ride or die, bitch.
Were curious if he was going to take up his old post with the release of WoW Classic in order to complete the vanilla experience, to which he replied, "Nope, just had my first kid, gonna be getting griefed by them instead." There really is hope for us all. Astute, smelly viewers out there might have noticed that all of these events took place during vanilla or original World of Warcraft, long before Blizzard decided that human interaction in a multiplayer game is unacceptable. Vanilla WoW was the pinnacle of the game's community. Each server was like its own little Hamlet, with recurring characters, infamous villains, and the most legendary players you would never want to meet in real life. It's no wonder then that WoW Classic, Blizzard's official recreation of this original version of World of Warcraft, would have a story of its very own. The Ahn'Qiraj War is one of WoW's most ambitious and memorable events, which saw the entire community on each server working together to unlock a brand new raid. Players of all levels could contribute items towards the server's war effort, which would allow the most vitamin D deficient players to work their way through one of the longest, hardest, and most epic quest chains in the game's history, in order to craft the scepter to bang the gong that would finally open the gates of...
Is this a scarab thing from, like, the Barney video? Hold on. What does that mean? I don't know. Okay. Basically, we watched this one content creator named Barney64 do this entire quest, and it was so stressful. We were like, when we were watching it, we were like on the edge of our fucking seats, right, the entire time. Are you liking this video? You are, aren't you? Aren't you? Well, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. Also, drop a comment down telling me what you want to see next, and maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. Who knows? You'll have to keep watching, don't you? Because it was that stressful. It was such a good series, but it was so stressful. Like, I can't imagine doing this. Like, I mean, I'm, like, basically chronically online anyways, but even I couldn't, like, sit here and, like, not sleep. It's just basically, just think about how maybe, like, I want to say, like, like 50 to 100 people can, like, be the Scarab Lord, and you need, like, the help of a ton of people just to get this title. It is a lot of work, and it's very painful. Yeah, you need and you need like a ton of like endgame players just to even get it. That's what all femcells say. I feel like I like men a little too much to ever be a femcell. Being for reals. It's the thing about it is that the reason why I say 100 is because it's time gated, right? It's not just time gated. The quest chain itself is ridiculously long, and you have to farm for things without like a guaranteed drop rate. So it could take hours and whatnot. So maybe in like a single server, you had like an X amount of people who could realistically get the Scarab Lord, and you'd have some people who would be like just short. Imagine getting that title. Girls will have to talk to me if I have it. Just like put like Scarab Lord in your like Tinder bio and let me know how that goes, bestie. Yeah, so like the drop rates for items in WoW are also not guaranteed, so you could be like farming for a while, you know? If you match a girly pop who knows what Scarab Lord is, marry her, she's a real one. I know what Scarab Lord is, excuse me? It's like a job I don't get paid, why would I sign up? See, that's like the MMO mentality. But can I just say, I have a friend who met his like girlfriend on Guild Wars 2. And they're like on the verge of getting married, and I'm just sat here like Final Fantasy 14, please be kind to me. Yeah, honestly, I like the lore of WoW a lot. The game itself, I don't hate it. I just think I'm burnt out from it.
Ahn'Qiraj. Upon ringing the gong, the new raid would open. A unique 10-hour war would rage across the world, and most importantly, the few players who had a scepter could ring the gong and claim the legendary Black Kiraji battle tank mount and Scarab Lord title. After this 10-hour war, there would never be another chance to get either of these prizes. It should also be noted that, given the intense time commitment and limited resources, very few players would actually complete the quest, usually only one per guild, and they were often helped by their guildmates. So already we have the recipe for a great scandal.
Hell
a prestigious,
yeah.
extremely time-limited prize, and a massive time sink done by people whose skin is likely melted to the fibers of their computer chair. Our story takes place on the Sulfuras server, which saw their war effort completed in only 14 hours.
Okay.
Something unheard of in vanilla World of Warcraft, where servers would take weeks or even months to hand in the literal hundreds of thousands of items required. According to the website Wowhead, 98% of these resources were handed in by a single alliance guild, Grizzly from Reddit,
What?
who had been stockpiling items well in advance for this very purpose. Now, if their name including From Reddit didn't tip you off already, these are our villains. Not content to share the prestigious mountain title with anyone else on the server, they routinely intercepted other guilds attempting to complete the scepter. One such quest has you and 39 of your mates taking down a raid boss out in the open world, making you prime targets for, say, a guild full of Redditors to descend upon you in the world's saddest cavalry charge.
Can I just say, once you hear From Reddit, you know that shit's fucked. You know that shit's fucked. Once you hear From Reddit, you know that it's over. Oh my god. Reddit, oh my god. It's so dumb.
Grizzly supposedly shut down so many attempts of Horde players that their only recourse was to muster up around 200 players to smash through Grizzly's defenses and take out the boss before they could recuperate.
Damn.
It was during this attempt that something unexpected happened. Souffle, one of the few players who were on track to get the scepter, suddenly disconnected and found themselves with a 7-day suspension. Now, given the scale of WoW's player base, as well as Blizzard's unwillingness to spend money on anything other than paper shredders, customer service reps are unable to get to every matter in a timely manner, and so certain shortcuts were implemented.
Okay.
While unconfirmed by Blizzard, it is widely speculated that enough players reporting a single player for cheating or otherwise unsavory behavior will result in them receiving an instant ban. After all, that many people all reporting one person could never be used by a malicious group, right? When this accusation began to gain traction on Reddit and WoW news sites, Blizzard stepped in and said that Souffle's ban wasn't solely due to fraudulent player reporting, but was still a mistake that was quickly overturned. Despite denying this accusation, Blizzard did confirm that members of Grizzly had been abusing the report player function, and many of them received 3-day suspensions as a result. This didn't count Grizzly out entirely, as they would still be able to make it in time for the 10-hour war, albeit barely. Then something magical happened. Over 600 Horde players, disgusted at the unsportsmanlike behaviour of Grizzly, attempted to lock down the final quest giver until the 10-hour war was finished, denying Grizzly a chance at finishing the scepter. They did this by attacking the quest giver, never killing it but just having it perpetually locked in combat so that it could never give out the quest, as well as killing any Alliance players who got near, especially those from Grizzly. Meanwhile, Grizzly managed to muster up about 300 Alliance players with the hope of breaking through the Horde lines. This didn't prove enough, however, and the guild that had spent months preparing finished the war effort almost entirely on their own and completed all but the final quest in an incredibly arduous quest chain, were denied the prize that they sought so deeply. After more mini scandals, you can choose between brands saying the darndest things on Twitter, or the
Girl, some of the brands are like crazy. Some of them, they say like some of the wildest things.